Welcome to all of you. Today's session is on the subtopic meeting and decision support systems. The earlier session we discussed about Groupware, and in the concluding part of Groupware we talked about the various types of interactions a tool carries out. Those were computer mediated communication, meeting and decision support systems, and shared work artifacts. So within these three, in this session we will discuss about meeting and decision support systems. The fundamental idea or the fundamental point about this meeting and decision support system itself is a team or a group of members or a group of employees are generally expected to come out with n number of ideas or variety of ideas. An individual employee or an individual person may not generally be able to create many ideas, maybe roughly 2 or 3, within which one could look better for him or her, and it gets implemented. Whereas when you take a team, there is huge possibility of variety as well as good number of ideas getting generated, and when a discussion is carried out on these generated ideas, those ideas may get refined and become more effective. And further, considering the scenario and the requirements, the most appropriate idea or the most appropriate ideas can be recorded down or can be noted and further implemented. So the generation and development and recording of ideas are the fundamental points to be detailed when you talk about management and research design. So you find a beautiful term at the bottom of this slide, common understanding. The very purpose or the requirement of a meeting is itself to arrive upon a common understanding. Though initially opinions can vary, plenty of ideas could come out, ultimately the outcome of a meeting should be for a common objective. There are actually 3 different types of systems: augmentation tools, meeting rooms, and shared work surfaces, as put up in this particular slide. We will see one by one. Augmentation tools are basically co-located and they are asynchronous in nature. So that naturally leads to variety of arguments could come out. So all those arguments have to be recorded or noted, which when further refined can lead to better decision making. The second one, meeting rooms, they are synchronous as well as co-located. So any face-to-face meeting or a physical face-to-face meeting or an electronic supported e-meeting can be a good scenario for meeting room. The third one, shared work surfaces, are generally synchronous in nature, but the teams will be in remote places. So naturally, a shared surface has to be used. One example is a shared drawing board, which can be utilized by the various teams which are in different places to arrive upon a common understanding. To go in depth, first we will discuss about argumentation tools. As I said earlier, argumentation tools are co-located but asynchronous in nature. The two primary purposes of argumentation tools are given here. One is reminding the designers of the reasons or requirements for taking the decisions, and second one is to communicate the objectives or otherwise rationales between the design teams. So when you talk about the mode of collaboration of argumentation tools, it can be very long term, which means it can be months, 6 to 9 months, or even sometimes a year, and very rarely it can be of synchronous nature also. Generally, argumentation tools are asynchronous in nature, but very occasionally it can be synchronous too. There is something called as issue-based information system, IBIS. Issue-based information systems help us to arrive at common understanding. The three issues, positions, and arguments are actually the various elements of an issue-based information system. So appropriate examples for each is given. The issues can be the number of mouse buttons. The positions can be any one button, mouse button, and the arguments could be a new user, novice, should find it easy to use. Okay, so these elements can be combined or linked to each other by various relationships. One example is given here. Easy for novice supports only one button. The meaning here is a new user or a novice could generally expect click of one button carrying out sometimes even 2-3 tasks. He or she, a new user, may not be in a position of understanding all activities at one stroke. So this is one example. Many more can be formed. A GUI based or a graphical version of IBIS is also available for carrying out this particular requirement. Moving on to the second topic, meeting rooms. They are definitely synchronous in nature and of course co-located. So a set of people of a particular organization could gather in a particular room. An example is given here. A typical meeting room, 6 people are seated. Every person is provided with a terminal which will definitely have the same content. The same content which is there in each of the terminal is also displayed in the shared screen in the left side. So coming back, the electronic supported face-to-face meetings, which means using laptops, using PowerPoint presentations, or maybe any other appropriate tool. If we conduct face-to-face meetings, that is one best scenario for meeting rooms. A whiteboard or a smart board could definitely enhance the effectiveness of the meeting. That is one more example. Any type of special tool can be used. And there are plenty of modes in how meeting rooms are conducted. Brainstorming, one of the conventional methods, but quite still popular method, where everyone throws his or her own idea. All those ideas are listed down by the coordinator of the meeting, and based on the follow-up discussion, whichever is felt less effective or removed one by one, and probably the remaining, which naturally will be more effective, is retained. So that brainstorming is generally used in a meeting room. And I would like to talk about WYSI-WIS. We all would have heard definitely about WYSI-WIG somewhere. In earlier topics also we have talked what you see is what you get. Similar to that, we have something called as WYSI-WIS. What you see is what I see. So the meaning here is, when there are, say for example, 6 people, it is highly recommended that all 6 people see the same content in their screens. It should not be different, because the ultimate aim is that. So you get that point here, all screens showing the same image, and more importantly, any participant can write draw to the screen. So when you use a special software, or when you have say smart board setup, that allows the coordinator as well as the attendees of the meeting to get synchronized. So this is about meeting rooms. You have one more nice image showing a meeting capture also using an camera. So you have plenty of devices like say detector, special pens, LCD projection on a whiteboard or a smart board. So the coordinator will be able to highlight certain part of the contents of a particular slide by using this special pens, which definitely creates more interest for the attendees. So all these are various options that can make meeting rooms more effective. So this slide actually talks about the limitations or the issues in what we have seen just now. Any tool or any methodology which we try to implement always will have its own limitations. So how to overcome those limitations, it is a challenge sometimes. So when you talk about argumentation tools, we need to discuss about concurrency control. We very well know that when there are plenty of people, maybe 2 or 3 or more could be trying to access the same device or a node, which could lead to a locking. So some kind of concurrency control mechanism has to be applied there. And notification mechanism is another important thing. It's not that always everyone in a meeting will be allowed to see a particular message, or will be allowed to post a message to all or a particular person. So those issues also have to be carefully handled. When you move to meeting rooms, many limitations or issues need to be handled. Maybe I will take the second one. It says who can write and when. So which means when there are 6 or 7 people all having their own terminals with, say for example, a special software which allows them to write down or highlight something, there also this concurrency problem might come. So it is not advisable to allow more than a person to write something on a particular single screen. So there should be some mechanism which allows in a sequence manner based on the need or based on the order they have tried to write something. So those kind of issues need to be handled. So the third subtopic is shared work surfaces. As I said earlier, though they are synchronous in nature, they are not co-located, but they are remote. So which means subteams of a particular team will be physically apart in different buildings in a particular city, or maybe in two, three different cities in a country, or sometimes in two countries also. So um, as rightly put up in the slide, at the simplest level, meeting rooms at a distance, that's all. So there are plenty of facilities available today: audio conferencing, video conferencing, but we need to straight away agree that the network connectivity and the network delay are the two primary factors which will have impact on this kind of audio video conferencing. And the tool which is being used for this purpose, whether they are good enough, that also matters a lot. um, One example is given related to shared work surfaces. It is team workstation. Here, a particular course or a subject is being taught by a particular person to students sitting in a remote places. Any online certification, what you and me do today, definitely is a very good example for what we are talking now. And live sessions being conducted by any person for a group of audience may come across this kind of issue to be handled, which is given at the last point in this slide. Student strokes on paper overlaid with video of instructor strokes. So the necessary settings and have to be taken care while dealing with the different types of audience. Thank you.